Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel, or welcome on in if you're new here. We're going to now put the weapons of the Turok Trilogy onto a tier list, since I know I used that in my thumbnails, but they've never actually showed up in any of the videos. I don't have a script this time or more game footage, so this is going to be kind of off the cuff, and that's why I'm using the VTuber model. But anyway, let's get right to it. I'm just going to say a few words about each weapon. I don't want this to go on for too long, otherwise I'm going to be here for like 30 minutes. But anyway, okay. So Turok 1 weapons at first, and by the way, I ripped all these from the games themselves on Steam. You can find a folder and just extract them. So, right in F tier is the alien weapon. It's ammo hungry and doesn't do that much damage. It looks cool, as you know, I like green, obviously, but it performs very poorly. It's not worth it. Right in A tier is the auto shotgun. So it's, once you find the backpack, that's 40 green shells, 20 reds. Very reliable, does a lot of damage. I just wish we could swap ammo types so you can conserve red shells, but it's useful throughout the whole game. Followed by the tech bow, right into S tier, the best weapon. I was wrong about the tech bow. It deserved the #1 spot, simply for the one-shot mechanic. And you can everything but bosses you can kill, and also the robots you can kill in one shot. Tech arrows are just okay for groups, but the real damage comes in the one shot. And just behind that is the Chronoceptor, as it's as far as like super weapons go, it's the fastest. You don't have to hold it down for that long to charge it up, and it trivializes Campaigner. 3 shots and he's down. And plus, it's very important for the lore. Like, there wouldn't be a Turok 2 and followed by Turok 3 if not for the lore behind the Chronoceptor. If you care about that kind of thing. And then just behind that is the fusion cannon. Yeah, you get it up. You get it earlier, but the damage isn't as high. If like you enable cheats or whatever and compare it yourself, Chronoceptor actually is higher damage. But fusion cannon is also kind of slow. Yes, you can replenish ammo, and you can't for the Chronoceptor, but it's just a few downsides in comparison. Right in the top of A tier is the grenade launcher. Very high damage, lots of ammo, pretty decent fire rate compared to the other grenade launchers, and it's the best of the series by far. Okay, first in the B tier is the knife, because of the mortal wound mechanic, completely healing you and raising it by 5 up to a max of 120. It's got the backstab mechanic, which you can, like you saw in the footage, you can backstab Triceratops and they'll just wander around trying to turn around and face you, and they turn very slowly. But yeah, you can do the whole game like that, beat the whole game with just that if you want to challenge yourself. Alright, minigun, and just behind auto shotgun, it's hit scan, very high sustained fire rate, ammo boxes fill it up completely. Very good, well-rounded weapon. Pistol is going to be in D tier, because performance is not that great. Like you can kill poachers and the campaigner soldiers and leapers, but everything else, especially by Ancient City, the performance is not that good. Alright, just above minigun is pulse rifle. It's the projectiles, I feel like it does more damage per second than the minigun, even though they're projectiles, so it doesn't have a travel speed, but it's just a better rounded weapon, I believe. Like the travel time is worth it. Quad rocket launcher, put that right behind grenade launcher, because the spiral pattern is kind of unpredictable. The travel speed is a bit slower. You can't bounce it around corners. The ammo capacity is lower, but if every shot lands and You know, especially like you can dump all of your shots into like Thunder or Campaigner. It does very high damage. Okay, first in C tier is the Assault Rifle. Upgrades our pistol. Pretty decent fire rate with 3-round burst. Very ammo efficient. Next is our, right above that is our Particle Accelerator or Shockwave Weapon, whatever you want to call it. Compared to the Pulse Rifle, like if you're fighting groups of enemies, it's very good for that. Like if you were to use Pulse Rifle, you would end up using more ammo, whereas you fully charge this up and use 10 cells, it's better for that. Just don't use it on single targets. Alright, standard shotgun. Unfortunately, right in D tier, because if you know where the secret is, like the hidden vine wall, you can get the auto shotgun right away, like in the first area, and then there's no reason to ever use this. Okay, Warblade. This is the first of our Turok 2 weapons. I'm putting that right in D tier. Like it's got a good frontal arc for like chopping off heads, but it's just so incredibly slow. Alright, and straight into S tier is the Cerebral Bore, because it's fire and forget. You can make short work of a big group of enemies as you're ducking into cover. Like the only downside is the travel speed, but that's just like not really that big of a deal. Alright, standard bow is going to be above the pistol. And the one thing to get used to is the arc, how it drops off. You gotta pull the drawstring back to get the max distance, which, you know, really isn't that far. So you kind of have to aim up a bit, but it's okay for headshots early on. That's about it. Okay, right in B tier. Damage itself isn't good, but this weapon is, the charge art is so good when compared to when you pair it up with other things. Just lock something down, swap to that weapon, and you'll make short work of them easily. Don't have to worry about them fighting back. Okay, right above the Pulse Rifle and Minigun is the Firestorm, because it's essentially both these weapons combined. You know, it's a minigun that shoots energy projectiles. You know, that'll carry you like throughout the game whenever you're out of heavier ammo, or out of ammo for the heavier weapons. It's really good. It's like a fallback. All right, and right in, let's see, we're looking at my notes here. You are high B tier. I'm sorry, that's the B tier. Pun completely intended. It will burn through ammo very quickly, but you can make the most of it while you can with that just, it sprays right through enemies and does a lot of damage, especially against bosses with big weak points. Like you saw in the footage, like you can hit both of Mother's arms, do a lot of damage. It just melt through that health bar. Right in F tier is the flare, because it's not really a weapon. It lights up areas, and that's it. That's all it's good for. And grenade launcher is right behind Dinosaur Hunter, because lower ammo capacity. The hitboxes are kind of weird. It doesn't seem to arc as far. But the added benefit of you don't have to worry about blowing yourself up. That's about it. Harpoon gun. I'd actually put it above alien weapon, because it's just that underwater combat isn't that common, but its damage is not that bad. Like you don't have to draw back the bowstring like you can with a bow to reach the max distance and damage, but it's just you don't get to use it much. Okay, behind minigun is going to be the Mag 60. A 3-round burst. If you line up headshots, it's really devastating. Really fun weapon to use. I wouldn't advise using it for bosses, but like pretty much everything else, it's really good. Okay, the nuke. High C tier. It's the best in the C tier, but I mean, that ain't saying much because it's supposed to be a super weapon. It's just how, you know, the weak points work in like Primogen. You'll do a lot of damage to that, but I mean, it's a multi-phase fight. You'll use up all your ammo and probably still have some left over. PFM layer is right behind the charge dart. It's good for traps, but I mean, if you're playing Turok 2 for the first time, you're not going to know where enemies are. But, you know, an experienced player, you can really capitalize on what this thing can do. Like lay down traps or getting the Primogen to step on it. Okay, and then Turok 2's pistol is right above Dinosaur Hunters because they perform about the same, but I like this pistol more because the sound effect, you know, it's a bit more punchy. But that's pretty much it. Plasma rifle. It's not good for assault, as an assault weapon. Like you don't want to use it up close. It's meant for sniping. That's its entire purpose. Don't use it up close. Razor Wind. It's behind the Warblade because of that atrocious return speed. Like it travels so far and it takes forever to come back to you, and it just leaves you wide open. You can't swap to any other weapons while it's doing that. You have to sit there and wait. And like it's really cool, but that's just a major flaw to it. All right, right above Cerebral Bore is Scorpion Launcher because of that volley fire and being able to lock onto targets. Like you can aim at something and do a 180 and aim at something behind you. It's really good for that, like chain kills. Shotgun. You are right behind the Mag 60. Even once you get the Shredder, you'll want to... I would advise using the shotgun because for the green shells. I feel like it performs better. But early on, it's very good. Does a lot of damage, packs a punch, and ammo is fairly common for it. Shredder, of course, number one. Green shells, it would be like B tier. Performs worse than the shotgun, I feel. But red shells, it just dominates the game. You can bounce it off and blow up objectives and hit things through walls and kill enemies like like they're just nothing. It just trivializes a lot of tanky enemies. Sunfire Pod. Right in F tier because they're just very forgetful. In the original, you couldn't get ammo for it unless you visited Adon, and like it stuns groups of enemies and kills blind ones, but you gotta be like dead on with it. Okay, Talon. Right in F tier. These both do decent headshot damage, but this does the frontal arc, and but yeah, it's just very slow, very weighty. All right, Tech Bow. I'd put that right above the knife, right behind Plasma Rifle. Because of the distance, it's nice that if you use the scope, you can have like maximum draw distance, but some enemies are going to be much further away, and you have to aim a little bit higher to compensate. And tech arrows like leave you wide open as you wait for them to explode. Okay, and behind Razor Wind is the Torpedo Launcher. It's not really meant for a weapon, but it is very good for utility, like getting around in the water, so you don't have to worry about resurfacing for air. I wouldn't lean on it too much as a weapon because it doesn't do much splash damage. You pretty much have to hit them dead on. But anyway, moving on. Tranquilizer. Like with the Sunfire Pod, there was no ammo. There's no ammo pickups. I feel like that was probably a design oversight. Because, like, if I remember correctly, Tranquilizer Dart ammo boxes would actually give you Charge Dart ammo. And, of course, they fixed that in the remaster. But its performance is just terrible. Like, 2 shots for an entrail, and those guys are just everywhere. I wouldn't rely on it. Okay, Turok 3's cerebral bore is in C tier because it just leaves you wide open. You gotta wait for it to make contact with the enemy before you can switch weapons, and you can't like pop off multiples to clear out groups like you can with Turok 2's, and that's why it goes right there. Okay, Turok 3's bow, I feel like it has a faster draw time, so that puts it right above it. It's performs about the same, but yeah, I feel like it's a bit faster. Okay, cerebral burst, right above the bore because the detonation mechanic behind it, like attach it to something or set it off prematurely if you want. But yeah, same thing, leaves you wide open. Okay, claws, where are you? Looking at my notes here. Falls behind the pistol. Like, as far as melee weapons go, it reaches further. It's a bit slower, but it does more damage. But still, it's a melee weapon, and those they don't cut it against boss fights. Okay, Firestorm Cannon. Basically, the minigun returns, but it stole the Firestorm Cannon's name. Very accurate, very high sustained fire rate. You know, just a little tap of the trigger and you can make mincemeat out of everything. It's very good. Okay, sadly we gotta put grenade launcher right there because it's hard to hit anything unless they're really big. You gotta really learn how to aim it. I mean, the other two don't have that issue. Like, you can slightly be off target and this grenade launcher will hit. So I guess it's a bit more realistic in that regard, but it's not fun to use. Okay, knife is, where are you? Right behind the claws. It performs the same as the tomahawk, and the knife perform the same, but I think the tomahawk is just cooler. But still, it's a melee weapon. Doesn't reach as far, but it's the better of like, if we're not looking at like the backstab mechanic or mortal wounds, it's the best, but that's still not saying much. Okay, mag 60 is right above claws. It's not really an upgrade. If you're playing Danielle, I would not advise using it. I feel like it performs worse. It's a bit wasteful of ammo. It doesn't really have a damage increase. And it's sad considering how good the Mag 60 in Turok 2 was. Anyway, Napalm Cannon is right above PFM. It's basically like grenade launcher and PFM combined. Like, it sticks to enemies, it sticks to walls. You can set it off whenever you want, and it's decent. I think there's definitely better weapons, but it's okay. Pistol, putting you right behind assault rifle. Out of all the pistols, aside from like the upgraded ones, well, okay, looking at standard pistols, it's the best because of the fire rate, and I feel like the damage is even higher. But yeah, it's pretty good. Well, it's right in the middle of the pack, well deserving of the spot. Like, it's not spectacular, it's not crappy, it's okay. It's definitely pretty strong for early game though. Finally, with the burst being the best of them, because it does everything the burst does, but it just has that possession mechanic, which, you know, you can draw enemies away and run them back to groups if you want. But yeah, leaves you wide open compared to the bore in Turok 2. Okay, PSG is high B tier because it's the slowest of the super weapons, but it is at least useful against Oblivion because it stuns him, and that's the only time you can ever do damage to him is when he's stunned. So that you can, if you don't want to shoot that weird like orb hand that he has, you can just get all the parts of that and use that instead. Okay, completely redeeming itself. The Razor Wind. The return speed is much improved over Turok 2's. Damage is about the same and does a lot of damage on the return. Like if you miss something, they can still come back and just cut their arms off. Okay, assault rifle. I feel like they performs about the same. Pretty ammo efficient, but I just like the design much more. The gunshot, very satisfying, and it just get that militaristic design. Okay, RPG right behind Scorpion Launcher, because it's just your standard straight shooting rocket. It doesn't have anything fancy and cool like Scorpion Launcher, but the damage is very good. But yeah, definitely deserving of that spot. It does enough damage to stand among the rest. So okay, standard shotgun for Turok 3, putting that right there. I don't like the sound effect as much. It feels a bit muffled. Like I would compare it to that awful sound effect of the shotgun in Soldier of Fortune. If anyone knows that game, it's about like that. Does a bit more damage though. Its spread is a bit wider, so I wouldn't like use it for long range. But you get more ammo and it performs a bit better. Okay, Shredder, not deserving of the name. It's basically the shotgun combining both the Shredder and the Charge Dart, but you can't charge it and it doesn't ricochet as much. But you know, if you want to spend 3 shells, you can lock down something, but I mean, when do you really need to do that? It doesn't do anything against bosses, and like maybe Mummites are the one thing I would use it for. Okay, silenced pistol. I put that right behind Mag 60. It just skyrockets the performance. It does more damage. You can zoom with it if you want to. Very accurate. Same fire rate and just very efficient. Useful throughout the whole game. Very good. Right at the bottom of A tier is the sniper rifle. I would suggest turning on auto aim, like even if you're on PC, because those quick headshots with this, you know, you don't have to take the time unless you're like crazy good with like flick shots. I would just, you know, turn on auto aim. Nothing to be ashamed of. We all do it on the speedrun, so no big deal. And yeah, and that's just mid range. It's of course long range. Yeah, it's what the name implies. It's a sniper rifle, very high damage, pop heads easily. Anyway, so the best of Turok 3 weapons right there, behind the Shredder, and I mean the Shredder should be like in its own tier, like S+, like it's that good. But like it's the Storm Bow is the most balanced, but it doesn't have the one-shot mechanic. So like big targets, it's still going to take a few more shots, but like everything else going for it, like with the zoom and the retrieving your arrows, the fire rate, it's the best. Fire Swarm, you are right behind the standard shotgun of Dinosaur Hunter. 4 shells per shot that's asking a lot, and it's overkill because there's just not very many elite enemy types aside from like Mummites. Like it is a bit more accurate compared to the standard shotgun, but you may as well use something else. I wouldn't waste 4 shells for that. Okay, right at the top of B tier is the Tech Bow. You can't retrieve arrows anymore, but that explosion, if you can just learn to deal with the awkwardness of how explosions work in Turok 3, it's pretty good. Like aim it right at someone's feet or in a group, and it'll make short work of them. Like especially, you have to find it in a secret area for Danielle, but it's really useful against those obnoxious troopers in military base. Anyway, so like I said, I think the Tomahawk's design is better. It's just personal preference. Performs the exact same, but I just think it's cooler. Okay, Vampire Gun. It only just slightly pulls ahead of the flare because it's actually intended as a weapon, but it's just, like I said, Pun intended, it sucks. But that is it. That is my final answer on the tier list. Ranked the best weapon all the way to the worst. But yeah, you can, I'll throw down the link in the description. You can do this yourself. Save it, upload it to Twitter, X, whatever they're calling it, and tag me if you want and share it with me. But that's going to do it for this video. Thank you all for tuning in, and I will see you all in the next video. Take care.